This is probably going to be the last time I talk about Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid for a while. But right now, there aren't any new seasons in the works, and I've yet to read more than the first volume of the manga, so unless there's a film that magically pops up somewhere or some huge newsworthy event happens, I may not get another chance to talk about it in a video for the foreseeable future. In all honesty, this video isn't even something that was planned. I'm actually currently working on a video for the channel, and the last thing that I really needed was to stop work on that and jump into this. But I stumbled onto a review this morning that made me take pause. It was a review for episode 11 of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S. And were it not for me randomly clicking on the cute image of baby Toru, yeah, I got clickbaited, alright? Sue me. If it wasn't for that, I would have skimmed past it and probably been all the better for it. But I did, and I read, and I disagreed. Now, let me say this before I continue. I don't like Anime News Network, and I really don't like their reviews. I personally wouldn't trust any of the writers for ANN to tell me that light is day or dark is night, let alone trust them to tell me which anime or manga is worthwhile. However, they are 1000% entitled to their opinions, because anime, just like everything else, is subjective. But it doesn't mean that I can't disagree. Now, it's clear that the writer of the review is a fan of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. If they weren't, it wouldn't have had a 4 out of 5 star rating for the episode. And despite some elitist preening that comes out from time to time, I think the reviewer did a great job at illustrating some of the finer points of the episode. Except only the biggest one. The theme. Almost every episode of this season's Dragon Maid has had some kind of theme, whether it's been one of friendship, or trust, or family, home, or, as in the case of this episode, freedom, which the writer of the ANN review poignantly points out had a lot of pontificating. And yes, while this episode did a lot of exploring of personal freedoms, it also did a lot of unwrapping of a lot of layers that were established way back in the first season. Of all the episodes of this current season, I think this one feels the most like a bookend. It's one of my favorites. It feels like it brings the show to a certain kind of conclusion. If they really wanted to, they could end right now. There wouldn't have to be any more. I would be very disappointed if they decided to end with only 11 episodes, but I would really be content. For the first time since the first season, we get a more thorough look at the complex relationship between Toru and her father, and the complicated mess that is the Dragon Society, and how screwed up it is. It's so screwed up that it actually shows baby Kana basically being left on her own to do whatever she wants, just vying for attention. Sure, the first part of the episode didn't really seem to fit the freedom train very well, and it kind of had a little bit of a janky transition, because this isn't really an episode about freedom. It's about choice. In the first part of the episode, Kobayashi's back is kind of a mess. Something that I can totally relate to. For the past decade, I've had some form of office or sit-down job, and I can tell you, a cheap office chair and poor posture can do more damage than being body slammed by John Cena on a bad hair day. But like usual, Toru wants to make it all better, and her initial remedy is to have Kobayashi eat her tail meat. something that's been a running gag in the series since the beginning. But here, Toru only presses for a bit, and after what the writer calls an, quote, obtuse conversation with Elma and Takia, decides on a different approach to Kobayashi. In a nutshell, Toru is treating Kobayashi like she would if she were a dragon in the dragon world. And try as she might, it's not a solution. I will admit the food analogy was a bit convoluted, but I got the point. And it wasn't so much being considerate of another person's feelings as it was about respecting their right to decide for themselves. Something that Toru, most of all, should have known about. The biggest issue I took with the review was the almost audible tisk that I could hear near the end of the article at the way Toru found happiness in being subservient as a maid over all of her precious freedoms, as though the two were mutually exclusive. That Toru's choice to be a maid is, quote, anxiety avoidance, as though she's choosing some kind of cop-out to the tough choices in life by being directed rather than doing the directing. And it's on this that I just couldn't agree. First of all, Toru isn't suffering from avoidance coping. If anything, she addresses her stresses head on and directly, which, if you watch the episode, you would remember is exactly why she ended up with a sword in her and on the mountain in the first place. Second of all, the idea here is not that Toru exchanged her freedoms for the role of a subordinate maid that gets bossed around by an uncaring and socially conformist Kobayashi. If anything, she's expressing nothing but freedom, because her choice was to be a maid for Miss Kobayashi. It was her choice to be with her, and to do for her, and care for her. And yes, to sacrifice for her. Because when you really care about someone, you're willing to sacrifice it all. For Toru, this is the ultimate freedom. So when her father tells Kobayashi that he will never approve of them, he's acknowledging Toru's right to choose, even though he sees it as the wrong choice. Having the right to choose isn't always enough. It's being able to make a choice that you know may be the wrong one. So what do you think was the theme of episode 11 of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid? I'd love to get your take on it. Put your comments in the comment section down below and let me hear all about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button. And of course, if you are new, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so by heading over to my Patreon. You can donate as little as $1. I'll get a coffee, and then I'll get right back to work making more videos. Have an amazing day. Keep being awesome, and I will see you all in the next video.